combination, but meanwhile on the ground going all the way bad, Agility just has to bail.
Agilities can't really do much here. He has to back out, wait for Immortals to reinforce, but they are reinforcing rather quickly. Now they're going around the backside, and it works out. They catch Ice Shiny off guard, and Agilities, meanwhile, is working around to the back, has a fair Mercy combo in sights, but no, just decides he's going to work the point and the ground war here.
Silk Thread has done his best, though. I mean, the Tracer play from him has been so good over the last several months. I mean, this kid is just an all-star on the British Time Traveler. Now still back and forth as the Res came in, fighting on this point, looking very Oasis on Lijiang.
Very much so here. Both teams turning this into a really long and protracted fight, but the thing that's important to know is that CLG still has control, so as long as CLG can delay, this is not bad for them here, Hex. Immortals, they invest the Sound Bear into this fight, and they still haven't really come out with what they want here just yet, and CLG's doing a great job of just keeping this delayed and keeping the pressure on as they maintain control.
Playing the objective early on. That's a nice pick, though, to take down Shake, and the other barrage will actually give them a decent advantage. However, over the top, Self-Destruct takes down Agilities and Grim. That is so much punching power out. I can't think they can switch this point.
No, they're not going to be able to do it. Agility thought he would get with the barrage. It was not quite as effective as he would have liked, and CLG able to stall it out and finally cleanly take that fight. 62% to 0. Immortals down to already what could be their final 2 attempts.
So, how do you think they come in here? Because they don't have much to work with at all. They're going to be at an alt disadvantage, but I don't think they have time for a junk rush. They just have to pure mechanic this?
They are just going to go straight in. They do have a self-destruct in reserve. Hyped right now, opting not to use it immediately, waiting a little bit later in the fight, but now it goes over the back, looking for the Mercy. Will it get it? Yes! Shake taken down by the self-destruct, lobbed right in by Hyped, and that is going to lead the way for Immortals as they work to retake this point.
Hyped has been playing really well the last 3 or 4 games I've seen him in. A lot of pressure on him as they've been adding these Korean players, and I think they have a substitute on their roster that can also play Diva, so he knows what is on the line for him and continues to clean up that point. Good for Hyped.
And that will lead to a full reset here for CLG, who is at 98% Hex. They only need one more fight, so we're taking a look at them as they come back out. They're running the Fair Mercy again, Shiny looking for his way to dive in, and they're just going to go in over the top, let Hydration soften things up from the side, as both Fair Mercies looking for each other here early on.
Well, usually it's the ground war that dictates these things. Pharmacy is such a volatile verse-v-verse, but a nice pulse bomb to take down Verbo from Silk to start this out.
Agility is in hot pursuit. Shake eats one rocket, able to get back out. They do force out the Resurrection for Immortals, so Immortals, they go Resurrection Sound Barrier, and they haven't fully taken out CLG here, but it's Shake, who is under pressure at the moment. Has to go fully away, using Mercy's mobility to his advantage, and just carefully dancing around the battlefield and keeping himself alive while keeping Hydration up. It's 3 kills here from CLG, and now they can really roll back in.
They get most of it there as Misa will put in the final blow onto the point here, trying to clean this up and flip it back over. Shake has been so good on everything. His Mercy was a question for me, but in true J. Kaplan form, he has worked really hard on it. Of course, Jack Kaplan is Shake's name, another J. Cap.
Too many J-Caps in esports, period. Not just Overwatch, like there's one in COD as well. But in any case, we are in overtime. Immortals, they have to work to bring this back right now. Grim starts off well with the Pulse Bomb, but it's Hydration. The barrage in over the top deals with Agilities, and yet it's not enough. Grim is dancing around, is going to be forcing out the res, and a little bit of life still Immortals here. Resurrection or no resurrection?
A little bit, but they're still not really getting the kills they need. Hyped is going to try for the self-destruct on the point. Does not find much. Zones them out just a little bit, though, as this battle continues.
Battle continues, and no, Grim not able to stand the point for quite long enough. Overtime fades, and CLG evens this up 1-1. So this is a pretty good opening showing for CLG, and I would say that about any team right now if you take anything off Immortals with how well they played in Contenders just less than a week ago.
Taking a stage off them is definitely an improvement versus the last time they faced off against each other. It was 2-0 in favor of Immortals, including a 3-0 on Lijiang Tower.
All right, so getting in here to Control Center. And Hex, what can we expect to see different here in Control Center between these teams, if anything, given the fact that this is the more brawly version of Lijiang Tower?
Well, you see it already in the compositions. They're going to run Genjis here as opposed to the Pharmacy combo. It's always been a great map for Genji. I remember Shadowburn running wild on this control map. Reason being, there's a lot of small verticality. He can jump around and use his passive abilities, cyber agilities, jump up the wall, makes him very difficult to hit.
Shiny once more leading the way here for CLG. Miso right behind him, and CLG's been very aggressive with their engages here, and it works out. They catch Kriv immediately, Hydration with the fall through, and it's a 6v5 for CLG. And what you see from here is that they're trying to box Mortals out, but Agilities and Grim coming right back in, and now it immediately turns where you saw CLG being more aggressive. Now they have to go back out. But it's very close as both flanking DPS get the work done.
Hydration used to be largely known as just a Pharah, but his Genji has come alive, and he's really showing off right now. He gets 3 kills during this early engagement. Shake takes down his counterpart in Kariv, and so far the late kills, the important kills, coming for CLG.
It's been very close, though, because just when you think CLG is about to flip it back over, they end up turning it back their way. Fate gets a key kill onto D.Va there, but again, this is going both ways at the moment. Agility's still working the outskirts, about to have a blade. Same for Hydration. So Hex, this could be a battle between 2 blades here in just a moment, and yet, with that last bit of cleanup, it's not needed. Hydration is able to save it, and CLG firmly takes control of the point.
I talked a little bit about 2 Zenyatas I would not want to fight earlier, and I'm quickly thinking I want to add Shake to that mix as well. He absolutely crushed it there, and not just getting the kills that he got, which I think was ended up 3 total, but his shot calling and just the discords have been great as well.
Look at this, Hydration has been holding off to the side, waiting for the engage, has the blade, and now just goes for Agilities. It was a tag team combo with him and Shiny. They specifically went for Agilities and took him out of the fight before he could be a threat, and now they just dive back to support their team. So CLG sort of set a bit of a trap there for Agilities, and it worked out.
Yeah, and also in that fight, Grim tried to challenge Shake and just got himself killed right away again. Now Shake's gonna have Transcend. They got both support ultimates up. On paper, this should be another fight that CLG should win.
CLG definitely has the advantage going to this fight. Immortals are coming right up the gut, and the real question is, how does Hydration engage this? He's under a little bit of pressure, pulls back, but he has the blade in reserve, as right now, you see Immortals just coming up the gut. But now, we turn to Hydration. The blade is in reserve, and now here it comes out, looking for his targets early on, but not going to get as much as he wants. He's countered pretty much directly by the sound barrier, so this is going to go to the wayside. Now, we go to the other part. Agilities has a blade of his own, and he could bring it out here, Hex, any moment.
Battling Transcendence is on the point. We'll see if Mikado wants to follow this up with a sound barrier to keep them alive. Has to, because the blade comes out. That's going to make that blade pretty useless. Agilities goes down.
The blade comes out, but iShiny, doing his best impression of Winston from The Last Cinematic, says, I don't care about your ultimate, just gonna punch you in the face. Doesn't matter if it's Doomfist or a Genji.
No Doomfist so far in this patch. A lot of speculation going on if he will be the dive fist that everyone is looking for here, but still on the point. This is down to it for Immortals. They have to find something to take this back.
They do indeed. Miso gonna lob in the self-destruct, going into the back line. Hydration wounded, but not out of it here just yet. Actually under pressure on Verbo. Verbo's gonna take him down at the very last moment. Good here for Immortals, because that would have led into a Dragon Blade in just a moment. As Immortals now very much back against the wall. They've almost recapped this Hex, but even if they do, they're gonna have to hold on to it for the rest of the map.
Shiny was able to chase down Fate there, so a lot of that area control that Winston can provide now out of the fight for them. Shiny's been playing super well on this team. Both tanks have, actually, as the brawl continues. A blade out from Hydration, though.
Hydration bringing out the blade, looking for targets, slices down Verbo midway through, looking for a little bit more, but no, he has to get away from Fate, and he gets the support, and he gets spooked back just a bit, and Hydration, with the help of his team, will stay alive here, and now he can come back in, as Immortals is still desperately trying to flip this point back.
Well, they have to stay on the point to CLG, because they don't want to flip it back over. It is so close, but so far away as 2 more kills come in. The trickle in full effect for Immortals as they have to use a barrier on only 2, and it just delays the inevitable as Verbo falls shortly after.
Verbo's going the fall. They're going. Hyped is going to get demached, and Grim, one of the last few people in and around the point. They have the Transcendence coming back in, so Kriv can keep Grim somewhat healthy here, but they are horrifically outnumbered on the point here, Hex. And we know that can be pretty difficult when you're trying to retake a control point in last month, but here comes Agilities. The blade is out, immediately countered by the Transcendence. He's not going to get what he wants, as Hydration says. He's like, that's a Dragon Blade. This is a Dragon Blade.
Supports held sway there every time that Agilities had a blade or a thought of killing anyone. It was either a Transcend or a sound barrier. They made him get absolutely nothing. I think the focus has been largely on Agilities over the last couple of stages, and that's smart.
The big problem I gotta note here is where you saw something happen where Shiny and Hydration were holding in the back, and they waited for Agility specifically. Agility's got caught in a 1 versus 2, way away from the fight, and that isn't even on Agilities as much as it is on CLG specifically trying to isolate the threat there, and hey, it worked out.
Agilities have been running wild since they got the new support and tank play, and we talk about it a lot that they've enabled him to go off. But I think if you can just get to the threat before it starts, before he gets any momentum, that's the best way to try to shut him down. Now, CLG 1 stage away from stealing this first map.
I would not have expected this coming in here, but Hex, we do like to talk about how Overwatch is volatile, and, well, we're seeing it here as CLG comes out surprisingly strong.
Well, we're going to see the air battle again, but meanwhile, on the ground, where all the action generally takes place, Fate already out of this, and again, it's so bad to lose your Winston early on in these comps.
And once they lost the Winston, you just saw Hydration just blimp his way over there, just slowly moving over. Hey, look, it's not a good year blip, it's the death year blip? I don't know. I don't know what to call it. But either way, he just felt very much empowered to go forward and picks off Verbo right after and easily seals the fight for CLG.
I don't know if I'd buy tires called death year tires. Not certain I would.
Sometimes that'd be more accurate advertising, though, when you do the tire recall and just like, look, it's accurate advertising. But the next fight is underway, and Hydration just casually sitting here in the back. The CLG really well positioned to deal with this dive, and they punish Hyped immediately.
Tanks have been going down very early. There goes Fate, and you see the res only brings back Fate, is unable to bring back Hypes in that fight. A desperation res. Shake's still holding on to his, though, so if they lose anyone, they're going to be in a good spot to bring them back right away.
And Grieve, he just rezzed, he doesn't have it up here for this fight anymore, and CLG just holding good control. Immortals actually very scattered at this point. And here comes Rez. It's a one-man Rez. They just want Miso back out immediately. And for now, it's working out. It is very much clustered around the middle here, and yet CLG holding strong.
It's completely fine to res her Diva here, because even if everyone else dies, she's going to be able to stall out on the point for quite a while, and the self-destruct will take down Kareev, who was nearing 66% on his resurrection, so it's a really smart res in my opinion. Diva's a great target, it buys you percentage.
It does indeed, and again, this is the trap that Immortals got trapped in just a little bit before, where they got stuck in a really long fight trying to retake. They never really had the edge, and they've been fighting this fight now, Hex, for probably the last minute and a half, and they have nothing to show for it, and now they're down to their final reset to stay alive here on Lijiang Tower.
Well, Hide and Go Mercy will be the name of the game for this last fight. Kareev and Shake will both have Resurrection up for the next brawl, and if one of them goes down, that could be the turning point.
Now you take a look at Immortals. They're engaging in from their right side, and they lose 2 immediately. This is going to force Kareev to come out with the Resurrection very quickly because of how that immediately started out. So, no, Kareev doesn't get it. He gets taken down by Silk Thread, and that could be the map coming out here for CLG.
It could be, it should be, and it very likely will be, as that wick runs out. And CLG comes out strong on a map they struggled against Immortals previously, so good for them. And Lucio, so nothing out of the ordinary at all.
Meanwhile, taking a look at the offense here, probably won't be seeing Mikado on the Hanzo for too long, but Hex, remember the good old days when you'd see 6 Hanzos just lay down scatter arrows?
I do.
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Yeah, when they unleashed hell. So early on, the scatter and the sonic arrow comes out for this team as they rotate on to a mirror composition on dive on offense.
And now it's just CLG feeling out the Immortals defense. You see Immortals holding a little bit further back, not going for a big counter dive of their own, and instead, CLG taking the initiative. They dive right in, but they fall just as quickly as Hydration goes, actually, I'm out of here.
Yeah, 3 very quick kills on the defense, well, at 2.5, but Shake does end up taking out Verbo on the offense. Not quite the trades you're looking for. Kings Row, of course, is always fine to brawl and trade, but they got absolutely walloped in that first attack.
Well, that's a case there where I think coming in from Immortals, they were well aware just how deeply they'd be getting dove on, and they just waited for the dive and immediately punished Shiny when he came back in. So, a bit of a strategy shift from Immortals, if nothing else, where you saw high initiative coming out from CLG, but this time Immortals was prepared for it, and CLG looking to come in again. You see Shiny and Miso poking here on the outside, looking for the root in. Agility's, though, just in the back, getting a little bit of extra poke there before finally dashing out. It's like, by the way, Genji's here.
Yeah, you noticed that they weren't rotating through Hotel and decided to just take a trip to the backline himself. A really early DMAC, and now a lot of the punching power gone to Silk Thread out of this. Another good hold for Immortals.
Immortals just being an iron wall here where CLG is almost a little bit mystified as to how they want to come in and engage at the moment.
Hey, the problem with that is getting beaten so badly in those first two fights. You see the snowball effect starting to happen right now as Immortals has nearly all of their ultimates up. Hydration is going to have a hard time finding purchase with this blade with some support ultimates up.
Well, you see Shiny looking to leap in, decides against it, doesn't go quite as deep, gets a Discord Orb on him. Meanwhile, you see Agility's here to the back, Dragon Blade at the ready, and he doesn't even feel the need to use it here just yet because CLG hasn't pressured Immortals enough to make them use their ultimate, so they're really stalling out their ult economy in a good way.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's really good here for CLG to not use ults. They've already lost this fight. They banked up 3 ults. It's the only way they're going to be able to come in against these 6 ults, but as you mentioned, the economy not being used at all for Immortals, so not falling victim to the ploy of a Junk Rush.
No, and that's a key difference between teams playing at the really high end in Overwatch and teams that might just be struggling to make their way, is that if you can win the ult economy game, you can get extra fights won that you might not be able to get. That said, both teams now have a lot in the reserve, so this next fight is going to be somewhat of an ultimate showdown, and now Immortals, they take the initiative. They dive right in early on, and Agility is just waiting for this Transcendence to fade before bringing up the blade, and here he goes. The blade is out, Agility's moves in, has one so far, and is looking for more, but no! Focused down by iShiny in the back, and now can Hydration tilt this fight in his favor? I'm not sure CLG wants to go in with just 4.
Well, the big difference there, and what gives me a little bit of hope for them, is that they forced out Verbo's sound barrier while Mikado held his. So they can come into this fight with a sound barrier, should they so choose. A sound barrier into Blade seems to be their best options with only 40 seconds left.
They have to pull the trigger soon, and I think you're right. They will barrier Blade here, and Hydration is just waiting for the signal to go. The problem is that Kriv is Transcendent, so if he goes in now, it's going to be bad. Kriv preemptively uses Transcend. They're going to get 2 kills off it early on, and even though Hydration would love to go in right after, he no longer has the opportunity. It's just going to be a clean teamfight win for Immortals, as only 23 seconds remain on the clock.
Well, now it's time to go. You can't take these to your grave. They've been a little bit gun-shy so far, and maybe because some of the defensive ultimates, defensive support ultimates especially, came out early in those fights to make sure that they didn't come in, but now it's time to go. You have to use everything.
Well, Grim right now is on the back. He's looking for the flanking pulse bomb, and I don't think people have gone where he's expected because everyone has passed him by. He's going to have to move into triple blink now as Hydration brings out the blade. Gets to the back, gets 1, looking for a little bit more into the hotel.
Grim!
And that blade is going to be put away, but it's Grim into the back, picks up 2, and that might be all Immortals needs for a fast first point hold here in King's Row.
Grim took down both support. Shiny needs to pop this Primal Rage just to give his team a chance, as Silk does pick up a couple of kills here, and despite the double support kill pulse bomb from Grim Reality, Silk Thread does it without that ultimate, able to clean out the rest of the point. Shiny didn't even have to pop his Primal Rage. Good management yet again.
Well, note, it's not over here just yet. Immortals gets another attempt to come back in. They're going to have almost all 6 up here, Hex, so they will force out the Transcendence if nothing else. This is already a win to begin with. Even if they don't retake, they made CLG burn that support ultimate. Grim right now, don't tell him that. He's looking to be a hero, and finally, he gives up all hope, ends up accepting the death as CLG uses up just about every bit of time to move forward here in King's Row.
They take it in the 25th hour, had to use what they had to use there, and I just can't believe they were able to pull that back after losing both supports to a beautiful pulse bomb, but just shows you the mechanical skill of Silk Thread, and I call him a kid because he is. I don't even think he's 18 yet. He's just finishing high school, 17, just trying to figure out his future in Overwatch, but he can do whatever he wants. I mean, any team would be lucky to have him.
So you're saying you were not trying to slander him?
No, I don't slander anyone. You know me, I'm the nicest person ever.
This is absolutely inaccurate, but here comes CLG moving forward, but the counter engage from Immortals works out well. They get 2 kills immediately, and Grim into the backline, looking up to pick up the scraps, deep diving here onto iShiny, and decides, actually, not even worth it. I'll let him live.
They have really crushed the backline of CLG. That's why it took them so long to grab that first point. And you see yet again, both of the supports for CLG went down immediately in that fight. And losing both supports is a recipe to just back out. It's time to leave when that happens. There's no way you can sustain against a team with supports up after that.
And notice how Immortals is positioned here. You see Fate right now looking for early cleave, can leave if necessary right after. The rest of Immortals in the back, and Grim wasn't to the backline himself, but comes back with the rest of his team, throws out the bomb, doesn't get much, and now CLG off the Transcendence going forward. Hydration, Blade in reserve, might not even need it here as 3 kills have come in, and CLG just cleaning up at will.
I do not envy the supports who are in this game. Again, that fight was won because the offense just got to the backline very quickly. 2 of those first 3 kills, both supports taken out. Now I don't know how you play around this. You keep your tanks a little bit closer and try to catch the dive, but both of these teams' offenses executing extremely well. And even like the defensive offense, when you're going in, when you dive in, to take out both supports, what more can you ask for a dive?
The dive has been working well, and now they can barrier into Blade, something that Immortals isn't going to have on their own. Hydration holding on, and here comes the Blade into the back line, gets booped back. Verbo saving both of his supports, Hyped coming in for the help, and they completely neutralize that Dragon Blade. Hydration not able to get exactly what he was looking for, and we'll see if this is enough for Immortals to pull this back and get a second point hold.
It's so important for supports to protect each other. You're in this together. You're the top targets together to get in there. Self-destruct comes over the top, should try to clear out the cart. Still Silk and Mikado messing around in here, but this might have been over a bit ago. Hyped will eat a pulse bomb. Actually, Verbo goes down to that one.
This could be a finishing Dragon Blade agilities, cuts down Hydration in mid-flight, moves to the payload looking for more, and his Kryptonite, iShiny, gets the kill on him towards the very end. And Mo CLG is fighting here. I don't think it is going to be enough. Immortals looking like they will secure here right before second.
Shake gets on the card, but that is short-lived. The victory transcend coming out as the trickle continues to come in. Maybe they can get something here. The self-destruct will buy at least a little bit of time, but Miso's got to stay near the cart because it's in overtime here.
Yeah, Miso has no choice. Normally you'd like to get out there, buy a little bit of time. No, you have to stand the payload lest teams and chat judge you for being like another certain team. So that's going to be a hold for Immortals right before second.
And that hold before second is largely bought on the fact that they held so well on first. To give it up that late, and that's something you don't often see too often, on Hybrid to hold it that long. And now Immortals in a pretty good position to even up this series, as they only have to get it to second point of King's Row.
Immortals has made their job very easy for themselves here, where, yeah, things didn't work out for them quite as well as they would have liked here in Lijiang, but they've come back to dark and dreary King's Row, and they put together a very good defense. I mean, let's not forget, Hex, that CLG was lucky to get through first, the way it was setting up there, where they needed Silk Thread to come in, have a huge pulse bomb, and just bring it out for them because they were seconds away from getting full held.
Yeah, they were in trouble there, but I think both teams are showing what has been the biggest improvement in North American Overwatch in the last several months, and it's been alt economy. There was a time where aggression held sway very well, and anytime you had an ultimate up, you just slam Q and hope for the best. Now teams are taking a much more methodical approach, and it's paying off for both teams.
All right, well, take a look here at the defense coming out here from the CLG side. Not going to be seeing too much revolutionary here, where they're going to be holding with a dive-based defense, and I'd say the key person to watch out for here, like most of the times we run this defense, will be what exactly does Shake do? How does the Zen stay alive in this situation? Because if the Zen stays alive, you can very easily go in, blow up the Winston. If the Zen goes down immediately, you're down healing, you're down DPS, and things don't go well. So how Immortals dives in on Shake should be interesting to say the least.
Zen's always been a crucial component of the dive composition because you can defend against the tanks diving if you have Discord up. Now the best way to get rid of Discord is kill the Zenyatta, unfortunately. So a lot of it is on Shake, but I'd say a lot of it also on Mikado, who I think is one of the standout Lucios in all of North America. Can he peel for Shake when that dive happens?
Well, Immortals right now just moving up relatively steadily. They go through Hotel, right up the gut, and there's a supplying pressure immediately here to CLG. CLG holding back a little bit, but in this poke war, CLG coming out a little bit rougher. D.Va almost getting demeched early on, but that comes at a cost. Verbo and Kriv go down to an excellent dive by iShiny. He got to the back line, and that is going to cut this push off at the knees.
I've been so impressed with so many of the players of CLG. Their growth has been impressive over the last several months, and Shiny maybe doesn't get talked about as well as he should, but I think he had a great Lijiang map overall. I felt he played even a little bit better than Fate, which is crazy to me, and right there, again, you see just how the importance of a Winston in the dive composition.
Well, Immortals, it doesn't really look like they're going to be changing up too much on their approach here, aside from the fact that they go straight up the middle, no one in Hotel this time around. Meanwhile, you look at Shiny. He's not deep diving this time. He's holding in the back, and he participates in helping take down Fate. It's not a dive here for CLG, it's a counter dive, and it works out. Now, after taking down Fate, they can look to go in a little bit deeper, and they do. They find Grim, and they re-solidify, so we thought Immortals had a really good defense here, Hex, but CLG trying to prove that they can go for the full hold as well.
The key for these hybrid maps is how you catch the dive. You think of Hollywood and you have to catch it in the cafe. Here they're playing so far back. I think it's so smart to be able to treat as far back as they are. They're going to give up some progress on the objective, have to come back in eventually, and Immortals knows how far back they're holding.
Transcendence going to be coming out here from Immortals as they look to solidify, being answered by a Transcendence in turn, but it's Hydration. The blade is out. Deep diving, picking up 2. And CLG proving to be an iron wall, matching ultimate for ultimate here early on. Self-destruct going to zone them out a little bit as Immortals looks to pick up a tick. They almost have that tick, and CLG just barely able to get back onto the point of time.
Just barely, but I think one small mistake came out there as Mikado used a late sound barrier and maybe did not need to. Now they are probably going to hold on this fight, but that means that Verbo's going to have his sound barrier. He does use it, grabs 4 of his teammates in it.
One problem with that barrier is that Agilities wasn't there. He's really not there. Silk Thread bombs him before he can bring out the blade. That is a nice pickoff coming in from Silk Thread, and honestly, just rough timing for Immortals. You'd think normally you'd want to save the barrier to get Agilities in it.
Yeah, it was a huge mistake for them to not get the players that they needed into it. They had time to set up. It looked like they were retreating and then decided to go forward anyway, and the barrier only got 3 of his teammates in it, kept 2 of them out, so not ideal.
Well, one upside here is that Agilities will have the blade going up against 0 support ultimates this time around, so Agilities has the game in his own hands right now. Fate, again, posturing in the beginning, and both teams just looking for positioning. But look at this, they're getting free progress on the payload. This is going to force CLG back in, and out they're getting forced in. Let's look to Agilities. Blade is up, a little bit of skirmishing with the Tracer as he looks to go into the backline, and here he goes. The blade is out, gets 1 early on, and even though it's Agilities picking up 2 there, it's really the engage from Hype that started that out with a bang.
I mean, by 2, I think you mean 4, as Agilities cleans out the rest of them there too. A nice transcend by Kareev, kept him alive early on. Beautiful play there from Agilities.
And you look at this, they're deep diving even further, getting in the CLG before they can recuperate. This is a deadly split spawn area, and right now, CLG, they're forced to use Transcendence to go back out. That's kind of a win for Immortals, I would say.
Yeah, making them use a Transcend there, making them use all these things is kind of a halfway junk rush. If they can get any more out of it, they're going to be happy. But they have angered CLG, and they want to fight as close to spawn as possible now.
Yes, they angered CLG, and CLG is able to get back out, but this is a case where Immortals wasn't going to get much payload push in this time anyways, because that garage door takes forever, so if Immortals can come back out here and not get wiped again, this is still a net benefit for Immortals. That said, Hydration holding on to the blade right now, keeping track of where Immortals is as they come in from behind. Both teams trading off positionings here, where Immortals suddenly the defense, but they lose Kareev immediately, and this workaround offense for Immortals actually does not work out quite as smoothly as they would have hoped.
Well, despite getting the couple kills that they got,
anyways.
Yeah, they got a couple kills, but then Fate turned it right around for them, was able to get a couple of the supports, and this spawn camp hold is effectively over.
That's interesting just how much that turned around in the span of a few seconds, where even though you saw CLG getting the first 2 kills, Immortals was still able to wrap that around, and going to the next fight, it might be the tale of 2 Genjis here once more. Blades and barriers, Hex.
Blades, barriers, and bombs, that is the meta we are in. Not the Better Business Bureau, but Triple B nonetheless. They will fight very far up, putting their tanks up here for Immortals to try to scout out and get some free push going through the streets.
Well, the streets phase is underway. Both teams coming out here, and it's the blade coming out first from Hydration. Into the back, finds Kareev, looking for a little bit more, but that is going to be it. Meanwhile, Agilities decides, you know what, not using the blade here, and CLG will fully reestablish here in second. And Hex, here's the other thing. We're down to a minute 10 left here for CLG, so technically speaking, CLG could very well hold on King's Row and take the map.
It's a definite possibility, which is why I like always spawn camping. It bought them about a minute, and they didn't have to give up too much to do so. Didn't end up burning ults in that situation either. Dueling Transcendences may come out right now. Shake's still holding his.
Kareev comes out the Transcendence, no blade out the supported here just yet. Agilities holding on. Hydration gonna fall early on here, though, so Immortals is working with a one-man advantage, but the self-destruct to the back catches Agilities before he can do anything. And CLG trading out efficiently here, Hex, as 30 seconds remains.
Well, Immortals has again killed both supports for CLG, so going to be very difficult for them to try to get out here. I like this Primal Rage by Shiny just to try to delay because they know they have to regroup and fight one more time. This will very likely be the last fight of King's Row, regardless of the outcome.
This is looking very good for Immortals now, though. Even though the trade-outs weren't bad for CLG, they're still at an ult disadvantage, and Agilities can put this one away with a blade. There's no defensive ultimate to deal with it.
Get there.
And even positioning why CLG is in a rough spot. So here comes Agilities. Blade on the way. Can win the game with it right here. Diving to the back line, looking for more. No, taken down midway by Hydration. Not what he's looking for there. The focus fire for CLG keeping them in it here so far, but Grim to the back, carving things up, and CLG not able to maintain a presence in the payload. And that is going to be Immortal striking right back. The series now 1-1.
Well, we now go down to a best of 3 here, as both teams have taken one early on, and the next map pick will be up to with CLG's pick.
Well, CLG, they certainly had to have some form of confidence coming in here, as it is 1-1, and we'll be adding that score there in a moment. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting between both teams right now, where CLG came out stronger than expected on control, and truth be told, even though Immortals was able to take King's Row in second after a good defense, it doesn't really tell the tale of the game, where CLG was very close to potentially taking that over Immortals.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I think this is actually going to be the defense that comes out. Teams have been much more aggressive on the defense, and a lot of teams have been playing the Sombra on the defense as well. One of the best counters we've seen to that is a team running a Mei onto it and just taking over that mega pack room on the bottom and catching a couple people out, because you know that's where the defense wants to play around.
It was the team that really did that on the EU side of things. It was 1-2-3, where they won some hearts and minds with that.
They put him in,
United.
Yeah, put him in the meat locker, in the freezer, as you called it. So we'll see if they want to do something like that. Early on, of course, you're always going to see Hanzo here to check out the train, to make sure that they're not going to get train wrecked as a strategy. But yeah, this Sombra defense has been popularized on assault maps, but teams are bringing it to nearly every map now. She's so good on defense.
No, she's very good on defense, and teams are still exploring just how far you can bring Sombra play right now in 2017, and the answer is pretty far. But you take a look at CLG right now, they don't want to give up much for free. You already have Shiny and Viso contesting here in the front, and this is just to get good poke damage in and keep open the possibility for someone like Hydration to dive in on someone that's wounded. And really, they're going full out in their aggression here early on, but it is punished. Shiny's going to fall immediately in CLG. Now the question is, Hex, how do you make a dignified retreat?
I mean, there is really no retreat that's dignified, is there? You're just gonna die trying to get out there. They tried to play around Pack Room, and I don't like the super aggression that they had. They had already bullied them out of Pack Room with the Sombra hack pack, and if you just stall it out for a little bit longer, you get EMP up. Look, Shake's got it right now.
Yeah, and this is a little bit tough here for Immortals. I mean, yes, they have to worry about the EMP, but if they're able to play around it, this could be a quick first take indeed. And look at Agility, he's just sitting here in the ambush. Hydration doesn't even know he's back here, still in the back line, and goes in for Hydration, trying to get the early pick off and almost completes it before Hydration is able to just get away. Still, 5v5 in the setup. Shake has the EMP, but doesn't really have the help to come in and get a good one off. And doesn't get it off, gets taken down by an Agility's melee towards the very end, and CLG bloodied here on the point as Immortals makes their push.
People simply weren't alive enough or healthy enough to feel confident using that EMP, and it started off with the Agility's ambush. Everyone got a little bit out of sorts when that happened. They would like to come in as 6, use the EMP, but at least Shake held on to it, didn't try to make something out of nothing there, and now they will have it for the next fight. Now, where that next fight occurs is really going to be up to the defense. They're going in, yeah.
They're going for it. Shake is going to come in over the top, drop the EMP, and hope for the best. And here comes Shake, looking for the right positioning, drops the EMP right on top of the payload, and hasn't been enough. Agility's, he's locked out from using a blade. Hydration goes in with a blade of his own, and he has the barrier in turn. But here comes the Transcendence for Immortals, backed up by a blade of their own, and Agilities is going to strike first, gets Mikado with the blade, and sets up Immortals on this point. Very good counter ultimate usage coming out for Immortals to take this first point here on Route 66.
It's a questionable EMP because your prime target in the EMP should be the Zenyatta. It gets you that insta-kill right away, peels off most of his health pool, and then you're able to deny that Transcend. The fact that Transcend came out post-EMP means the EMP probably was not ideal.
It wasn't great. I think CLG thought that would go down a little bit differently in terms of getting early kills. It wasn't as decisive as it needed to be, and now look at Immortals, where they have the bulk of their team out here, pressuring the entryways that defense has to go through the setup, taking advantage of those choke points, and making things a little bit tough for CLG as they try and reestablish. And Shiny, he's going to drop an early Primal Rage here just to get some space. I'm not sure if that was the best maneuver in the situation.
No, they seem a bit out of sorts on their ultimate usage this round, and I don't know if that's just an issue that they have with Escort. Despite that, they are able to pick up a couple of late kills before the people who picked up the kills will be eliminated in turn. Still some stall out here. This has been very brawly. It's kind of been taking place all over the map, and that's somewhat the nature of dive compositions.
It is the nature of dive compositions, but that was a little bit messy for CLG on their engage. Immortals is right there, able to punish it and keep the payload moving. And bear in mind, the payload had to go quite a ways anyways, as far as that went, so I'm not sure how much CLG actually stalled it out there. And more problematic going to the next fight is that Transcendence is going to be up here for the offense. So even though Hydration has a blade, the odds that he runs into Kareev's Spiritual Enlightenment, pretty high.
Kareev seems to always have Transcendence as one of his strengths because he just does so much damage on that Zenyatta that he's had it up. I remember a map on Hollywood, he had it every single fight, sometimes twice in the same fight. Early on, already Miso out of this. They do force a Transcend out of Kareev.
That was Hydration's Dragon Blade, where it was Blade for Transcend, and Immortals is completely okay with that because the Transcend keeps the rest of their team alive. They're able to keep control here on the payload, and they just keep things rolling here. CLG has been struggling to reestablish, and truth be told, they didn't really have the resources to make that fight go in their favor.
Miso's back on the cart, but that's because he died so early last time. Will be demeched on the cart, buys a little bit of time, but still staggering in here right now, mostly just feeding ults. And at this point, the strategy of just trickling in and stalling out has not worked out at all for CLG. They haven't really taken a 6v6 yet.
Well, we were joking about Silk Thread, Hex having that 1v6 moment. I think he just had it there on the payload, the last soldier alive, but finally he does fall. And, I mean, this is tough, Hex. If you're CLG right now, what do you change up, if anything?
Well, you're in last now, so you can make changes compositionally, because obviously this comp is not working for him. I don't know if it's the coordination required or something, but you could see switches up to Reinhardt here. There's a lot of different heroes that are more effective on the last point of Route 66 than they are elsewhere on the map.
Immortals right now, they're actually getting pushed back quite a bit, but they're bending back, letting CLG move into them, and starting to focus on Shiny. Shiny, Discord Orb on him, kind of stuck on an island by himself. He has to go away through the side entrance, and barely able to get away with his life as Immortals now resetting, moving in. An early pick off from Agilities, followed up by the Blade, but Transcendence going to ruin most of this Blade here for Agilities. Still forced out nonetheless, as Immortals has a Transcendence of their own here, Hex, that they can pile on with.
Miso's been sitting in back of this team forever. He got his mech back with the Bunny Blaster. They just didn't notice him. Was able to get his self-destruct in, and that takes the D.Va out of the mix. Now they're going to come in with the Blade. They're trying to be very aggressive here. I guess that's the switch up they're having.
Well, they went in with the Blade, but Hydration couldn't really go in because Kareev just immediately comes out with his Transcendence. So, in terms of the flow of this fight, Immortals has been on the winning edge this entire time. And finally, with Kareev finishing with 2, that's going to be Immortals moving right in on what could be a victory push.
Kareev just cleaned up all the mess. His aim on Zenyatta is absolutely bonkers here. He's going to have 30% on the Transcend. Probably a couple more kills gets him there towards the end, but they have Sound Barrier to try to finish out this fight. Sound Barrier, whoever holds it longer, is probably going to have the advantage. They both have it. Starts it off with the Immortals.
Comes in from the Immortals, followed up here by CLG, but Shiny falls immediately, not able to take advantage of that barrier, and this has already put Immortals on the winning edge. Agility's diving right in, builds up the Blade, and might not even need the Blade to put this one in.
That looked like a different CLG team. I don't know if maybe the power outage took out their team speak, but it didn't seem like their dive was as coordinated as it was, especially on Kings and Lijiang. Kind of a trickle in there, which can be a valid strategy, but at some point you want to win a team fight decisively. They never really did that.
No, they were not able to get the decisiveness that they were looking for there, and now, moving forward, the question is for CLG is, can they not only complete Route 66, but can they do it with a decent enough time that can come forward in the extra rounds and make this competitive? Because minute 32 on Route 66 is still a very respectable time. That's something that a lot of teams aren't able to finish out generally. I mean, most teams, oftentimes it's difficult to even finish out Route 66, so Immortals is in a very good position here.
Oh, absolutely. They could hold... I mean, I've seen competitive teams, top-tier competitive teams, not get around first bend on Route 66. It can be a very defensible position. And I'm really interested to see if Hype stays on the Bastion. You know our deep love for Bastion. No, Hype just toying with us.
Yes, please make it happen.
No, he jumped off the edge. Not only is he not playing Bastion, he made us listen to that very sad beeping.
Well, when a Bastion wants to throw himself off a cliff, Hex, it just simply happens.
It's just bad programming right there.
I mean, is it bad programming, or has he just realized that... I don't know, maybe he just doesn't want to participate in this war, Hex.
He just doesn't want to be turned into a butter-passing robot. Which is so...
That is a just stark fate. Rick and Morty Season 3 can't come soon enough.
It's gonna be great. Offensively, nothing really out of the ordinary, but who knows? They're still in spawn. You're definitely going to see Mikado. As I mentioned, you always see Hanzo here just to check. Oddly enough, the defense just running pure dive. It seems like they want to perfect that rather than trying new Sombra strategies or anything along those lines. And, yeah, just pure dive defense. Offensively, that's going to be somewhat standard as they rotate onto a pure dive of their own. This is kind of where Overwatch is right now.
Well, it is what teams like running here in general, especially for, well, let's say this map, but really any map right now, teams like running dive. That is what you see as the matter, of course. You do see a little bit more variation in NA from time to time, but it can depending on the team and what you're seeing. So, in any case, CLG coming up here on the offense right now and pushing back Fate and finishing off Fate. Fate not able to get out there in time, and it already sets up CLG for a nice 6 versus 5.
Well, very nice, but Miso's desuited and now both tanks out of the mix, so this brawl not quite over yet.
No, it is going both ways, but Hydration to the backline. Both supports in his sights, cleaving right through. Gets a double kill on both of them, and that will certainly put CLG on the right foot as they keep this payload moving forward.
We've talked about agility so much over the last couple of months, and rightfully so, but I gotta say, Hydration has gone toe-to-toe with him today, and that was always a question with this CLG team, is are they going to be able to run different compositions? I gotta say, again, the maturity and progress this Counter Logic Gaming team has shown over the last 6 months is really impressive.
It is indeed. Silk Thread holding onto an early pulse bomb here with Hydration. They double team agilities, take him out of the fight immediately. And now, in terms of winning the fight, Hydration has the blade in reserve right now. So he's just looking to build this up. Deep diving in, grabs Grim with Shake. And CLG might not even need to use this to get this point, even though Immortals is still throwing on a little bit of extra stall.
Well, all the kills now coming in for CLG, and apparently Route 66 is just a very difficult map to play the dive defense on. I wonder if we'll see some switch-ups here. I mean, it's so hard to run McCree against dive, but he used to be so good on this stage. Dive defense just not working out for either team.
If only Immortals had a revered McCree player who we really wished would play more McCree.
Rhymes with Schmidt.
Like this Grim Reality guy.
Yeah, I don't know if he's...
I just pine for the days where he used to be the McCree of our hearts, but next fight here potentially underway. Hydration under assault, not gonna be able to pull up the blade immediately, Hex, as he's looking for his opportunity.
Yeah, they're just looking for something here, but the economy for CLG has been astounding as they are loaded up right now. They take out Karif early on because Hydration has just been going off on this team. Another kill onto agilities.
Hydration, remind me of the best of Genji's, finds Hype towards the very end, and he gets 4 kills in this fight so far, Hex, and there hasn't been a blade involved. Just well-timed dash resets, making this fight his own, dancing around the battlefield, and that is the story of this fight as CLG keeps the payload moving forward.
I would like to see a team just go in on the other team and try to get one of these combos off. So far, I mean, obviously CLG hasn't needed to, but on defense, maybe try a blade and a barrier, try to get agilities to carry you, but they're going to be pushing into a barrier as well.
Bear coming out here from Immortals, but it's a little bit preemptive. Hydration wasn't even looking to use a blade here just yet. Now the Barrier comes out from CLG as you see Hydration biding his time in the back. They get 2 early kills, and again, they might be able to save on ult economy again as they deal with Immortals dive very effectively.
CLG's retreat game has been really good all day, even going back to King's Row. They're catching the dive very well on offense and defense, knowing when to pull back, making a lot of these ults be somewhat wasted.
Well, one thing that's worth knowing into the next fight is that Agilities might have an uncontested blade where he's coming right back in. Doesn't have to worry about a support ultimate in the way that Hydration would, but Hydration, he pulls out his blade. That's going to go into the Transcend as Agilities pulls out his blade in turn, looking for victims on the payload and finds them. A beautiful 3K from Agilities, and that will give some Immortals some badly needed stabilization.
Oh, that's exactly what they needed. They needed a hero play because just their standard play was not working out. Agilities is the hero that they deserve and need at this time. Able, as you mentioned, able to finally stabilize. Still 2.5 minutes to push it. Well, it's going to be probably about 10 meters by the time we get here.
Payload's going to be going back a little bit further, and this next fight can be a tale of two Winstons, really. Fade and Shiny both with Primal Rage up. This fight going to be one more on the nuts and bolts, plus a little bit of rampaging. A key here, though, is going to be making Fate blow that early. Otherwise, defense will get a chance to respawn and get back in as the delay goes on. And you just see Immortal, or CLG coming in from the side, not quite able to get what they want, and Immortals just rope-a-doping this and hit as Agilities picks up too.
Yeah, Agilities is just tired of this. He wants to play a little bit of defense. I think he got a deflect kill onto Tracer to start that off, then Shiny in no man's land, and now on the chase, able to even take down Shake to stagger out this next push.
Fate with the punch right to the back, one punch plus a bit of lightning on the chase. So Immortals, if nothing else, they're finishing their plate, and they've bought themselves a lot of time here, Hex. Only 1:30 remains here from CLG as they try and bring this one back.
90 seconds might only be one fight for them, too, given the reinforced distance required on Route 66 and where this card is right now. Very hard to get your team in there, and they're not even in position to fight just yet. They're trying to sneak Hydration down on the bottom, and I don't know about this position. They're going to get a little bit of free push at the very least.
One problem here is that Immortals is definitely a little bit ahead on Ulticami. They have the blade up, Agilities for Hydration on the top. He's going to back up a bit. And now the question is, will he save the blade for the trans or not? That's been a minigame. And no, Hydration takes him down, is going to win that one-on-one. And the Transcendence doesn't quite get to Agilities in time as CLG now has the kills they need to break this one open and get in the third.
Yeah, late Transcend and then punished by the Pulse Bomb at the very end was Grieve. They've got all the kills in their favor. The stall's going to come out for the defense. I don't think this is going to be a stall that's going to allow other people to come in, but it's just to buy time. Hype goes down. They try to rotate in Fate, but he's taken out very quickly. But no more bodies will come in for Immortals. 2 minutes left to close out the map for CLG.
Well, Hex, I'll tell you what, we're going to have two of our Bs coming in here in this next fight. Blades and Barriers, because that is what both teams have to make their mark as CLG fights for third and Immortals fights to defend it.
Oh, that third B coming up for both teams as well.
Yeah, so it's really just three Bs. Well, Blades, Bombs, Barriers. What more can you ask for as CLG moving its way up? And again, it's a game of patience between both teams. Who's going to blow their ultimates first? Shake those going to Falls Agilities to the back line with the blade of his own. Breaks it open here for Immortals. But there's one good thing here, Hex. As far as ultimates go, CLG was able to save everything there.
They've been so smart on their retreat and saving ultimates, and that's why you see them going toe-to-toe with Immortals right now, who's really made their name on doing just that against some lesser teams. So some adaptation from CLG to play the same style as Immortals, and they haven't really been beat mechanically out either.
No, they haven't, and CLG still with the ability to come in here as Hydration. In over the top, the blade is out, the barrier is on, and that's going to be 2 swift kills here for CLG. About as much as you could expect given the ultimate situation coming into this fight. But the good thing here is for an offense, Hex, is that this allows them to get momentum when they need it most in the final minute.
Very decent delay there coming out, buys them a little bit of time. Only 40 seconds left. This might end up in overtime, so one more decisive fight for Immortals will very likely win them the map and give them the lead in this set.
One thing that they do have in their pocket right now is that Shake is a little bit far off from Transcendence. If they engage with the Transcendence right now, they can catch CLG off guard. Here comes the Self-Destruct in over the top as Miso finds Fate. That's a nice early kill here from CLG. But one good kill deserves another. Both teams down to tank as Creve uses the Transcend. It lets Immortals push in, but they don't get what they're looking for. And in fact, the counter dive from CLG, far more effective. They get to the back line. Shake setting them up for 3 kills. And now Immortals on the verge of letting CLG through here on the end of Route 66, but Grim has something to say about it. Pulse Bomb is out and still contesting, buying time for Immortals to get back in.
Well, Fate had his Primal Rage and he used it perfectly there to sit everyone in the corner and then segment this fight off. Grim with the cleanup as the garbage time Tracer taking out the trash. They will be able to hold, and Immortals now takes the lead in the series 2-1.
Good stuff coming out from Immortals, but also just nice stuff from CLG. Immortals look to be the true juggernaut of North America, where, at least of the teams that were in contenders, they looked to teams and are still doing well for themselves. That, of course, that Complexity roster, they were really scared to the wins, where, of course, you had Harblue, who is originally sort of the star of it, on NRG and how they've been rebuilding. The TJO is a little bit absent. How the teams grow up in front of us, Hex.
It's been I don't know, an odd journey in Overwatch. As everything changes, it seems like time goes much, much faster in Overwatch. We haven't seen these teams play for 5 days, and it seems like they're very different teams already.
All right, well, we're taking a look at both teams as they set up, and we were talking about Pharah Mercy, Hex. It will be a Pharah Mercy showdown here once more as Hydration takes us guys, we're at the agilities, and already the Pharahs, a little bit of parting shots thrown at each other.
Oh, just don't even put the camera on it. I'm so tired of seeing Pharah Mercy's miss shots.
I got news for you, Hex. The camera is on it right now, and for good reason. Agility's taking the first rocket right to the gut, has to back out immediately, but that gives CLG an advantage here as Hydration now can lay some shots on the Verbo. However, as the ground war is going on, Grim doing perhaps a little bit better Lucio harassment, coming into the back line, and the ground war will go the way of Immortals.
Goes the way of Immortals as Verbo was able to get a nice boop, I think, onto Miso as in pilot diva form and grabbing first capture on Ilios, very important. Maybe this stage less so than some of the others, but first cap, it was kind of the first map that ended up being a lot more brawly before Oasis came out. This stage, you do see more 6v6 sets, though. It's going to be very difficult for CLG to find a good entry here.
This stage is very reminiscent in many ways to Night Market, except if you had the Edge. Well, even then, the Edge in Night Market plays a big role, so I would say it's probably most analogous to Night Market and Lijiang. Still, though, both Tracers, Pulse Bombs up and at the ready. A little bit of Tracer skirmishing on the side. Pulse Bomb goes out, but that Pulse Bomb does not connect. And while this is going on, it's Agility's getting the better of the air war, finding on the Shake early on, and that's going to force Hydration way back, Hex. He no longer has the Mercy to support him, and Immortals can just sort of roll like a flood into CLG.
They might be toying with the idea of a resurrection here, but it would be a bad one because now everyone died, and they all died kind of scattered out too, so you wouldn't be able to bring everyone back to full force. So far, it is all Immortals here. They haven't even had to use a whole lot, so they're going to be loaded for bear when the next fight happens.
Immortals has a lot of ways of winning the next fight. I would really focus on the two Mercies here, though, in that whoever has to use Resurrection first is probably going to be the side that ends up losing the fight, unless they've just decisively won it at that point. But with both teams having Res, we'll see how it pans out. CLG looking for their way in. Shiny, bit away from the dive here early on as Immortals, they use the sound barrier to dive right in aggressively. And Agility's right now just pressuring Hydration, keeping a bit out of the fight, but the self-destruct in over the top. Agility's barely able to duck it. Does do it just in time as this fight is still 6v6X.
Yeah, self-destruct can be great anti-air, but already Mikado will take out Fate, and a couple of nice air shots from Hydration do end up taking out Kareev, the Pharah finally finding purchase in the air.
Works out for CLG, and they are able to turn that fight back in their favor. A fight that, by the way, was still looking very good for Immortals early on, and a big part of that is Kareev died early. No resurrection on deck, therefore, they don't have to worry about that coming in, and surprisingly, both Mercies still with resurrection as we go into this next fight.
Well, I mean, Kareev, I don't know if that was his choice. He got bodied out of the sky by damage-boosted rockets, but so far, CLG with, again, a good economy. They're going to have all their stuff up for the next hold. Immortals only needs to win one fight, though.
And Immortals just slowly approaching it here from their left side. Agility's again looking for Hydration. Rocket Battle going back and forth. Both Pharahs tasting a little bit of each other's special brew, but it's going to be the ground war that decides it here as Silk Thread comes in and does the heavy lifting for CLG, and this is just going to force Immortals all the way back.
They're chasing pretty hard right now. Want to try to finish some more of these kills and get a stagger. They will not be able to do it, but they don't lose anything on the chase at the very least.
No, and the interesting thing here is how both teams are handling the resurrection, where Kareev did not decide to go for a res there, holds on to it, and Immortals, they want a more definitive fight when they use it. But time's starting to go back the way of CLG, 53% to 98%, and if they can win this fight, they'll be one fight away. The fight is engaged, and Fate not able to get away. Hydration chases him down, and that's going to trigger a one-man resurrection. Meanwhile, you take a look at Shake here, Hex. He's holding on to the res. Who is he going to use it to bring up? And we'll see just how long he holds it for here, but it might just be a one-man res, and it is.
Hydration's got the better of this air war so far. He's been hitting his mid-airs. He was able to take down Agilities. The one-man res happened because they hit a a pulse bomb onto the other team and knew they were going to be able to clean up a kill. Still, they brawl back and forth. Nothing really decided yet as Primal Rage on the point, still in control of CLG, and now hyped out of this equation as well.
Fate's trying to extend this fight, and it does work out in the sense that they're able to isolate out Mikado. Respawns are coming back in, so very shortly, Immortals might have the winning edge they need. Pulse Bomb thrown right in from downtown, or not Pulse Bomb, Diva Self-Destruct does not quite hit.
They flipped it.
As Immortals now really starting to pile on. They get 2 extra kills, and remember, if they're able to hold on to this now, that will be the round in their favor.
Virgo's just been crushing anyone who dares come near his point, giving them a one-way ticket into the ocean. And it does seem that Immortals should be able to take this first one unless a miracle happens. I don't see it on the horizon. Shiny unable to primal onto the point. And what is a very close first stage will go in favor of Immortals on Ilios.
0-1.
Alrighty. Well, we're heading in here to the second round here on Ilios, and Immortals able to come out strong, which is to their benefit because you remember going back to Lijiang, that was not quite as much in their favor. That's where CLG came out strong, surprised Immortals. So for as far as control goes, though it's been close, Immortals able to edge out that first round.
Well, on Lijiang, the ground war generally went in favor of CLG, which is why they were able to take that one. But in the last round, if you compare the 2 main components of your ground fight, in the Tracer and Lucio, I would definitely say that Verbo and Grim got the better of it over Silk and Mikado. I mean, Verbo was able to knock people off constantly, and even though Hydration was able to take down Agilities and Creeve once or twice, it just wasn't enough to be able to overcome the losses they were suffering on the ground.
No, it was not indeed, and CLG once more aggressively going in, isolating out Agilities in the beginning, but it's Grim on the ground, darting back and forth, able to find Mikado, and piles on. So when Immortals has been winning these fights, it's because Grim has been able to get to the back unchecked, picks up one, and it just snowballs from there, and that's going to lead to Immortals getting first control of this point.
And this is the point that really matters first control. Look how enormous this point is. It's got so much area to tiptoe back in and back forth. Again, that's what Oasis is designed around as well. So taking first point on this stage is so important. Really looking good for Immortals.
CLG right now looking for their way back in, but Shake goes down. A long-range rocket from Agilities seals the deal immediately, and that should push this fight the way of Immortals. Even though they're able to isolate out Fade, it's just a little bit too little too late.
Agility's going very deep in, will get help from his supports there as Miso tries to take to the skies. And Pharah's verticality and the buff that happened to her has really brought her back into the meta because she used to not be able to get that high or stay up in the sky as long. So that, if you look no further to that patch of why you see so much pharmacy nowadays.
Farah has no height limit at this point. She can be as high as she wants, and no one can really bring her out of the air, aside from, say, a Soldier or McCree. Well, you don't see McCree anymore, so it's more of the Soldiers and other Farah's as Agilities is able to take down Ice Shiny immediately, dives right on to him to begin with, and for Immortals, it's just clean. They hold back, they punish the dive immediately, and maintain position here on the well.
Hype just being so annoying to this combo too, and he still stays alive. He gets the healing that he needs on occasion, and was just in their face. So if you can just distract them, take them out of their fight, 1v2, then of course you're going to probably win the ground war because you've simply got the better numbers down there.
So for CLG, the question is, how do they engage this properly right now, where they've been losing people on the engage every single time? Agility's about as high as can be right now in the air, holding on to the barrage, and now just moving forward. Shake is his target. He just wants to drop the barrage right on top of him. That doesn't quite get the angle to do it. Ends up getting forced back a bit. And meanwhile, you look at the ground war. Mikado out on his lonesome, under pressure, is going to go down towards the end. And CLG, again, they've been really split on these engages. They do invest on the Resurrection here, though, so this one could go in their favor.
Well, the important part is post-Resurrection, Hydration was able to take down Kareev, who had a res of his own. So that's going to make sure that they can continue to have the numbers advantage on the point, and Hydration and Shiny will clean up the rest of it. Does not seem like there will even be stall out. And despite that, I don't know, that fight went well for them, but their target selection has been really confusing. Shiny and Miso were completely separated from the rest of their team, chasing down Grim of all people. As tanks, it's going to be very difficult to chase down a Tracer.
Well, if nothing else, they put pressure on Grim and stopped that. The other nice thing they did there, too, is that when Hydration was mid-barrage, Miso is right there at the defense matrix that made that a safe barrage. He actually got to say the full voice line, Hex. I know that's something that makes you happy as someone who, at one point, used to play Pharah.
I still try, but I solo queue too often to play Pharah anymore. It's just really hard to rely on people. You know, I have trust issues. They are going to come in and barrier here is CLG to try to keep control of this point, but again, remember, Kareem still has res available.
Kareem does still have res available. Hydration trying to take down Agilities. It's a bit of a wash here so far, but nice rockets coming into a clump of Immortals players from Hydration. The problem is that Kareem has the resurrection up here, but so does Shake. The fight is going to be reset between both of these teams, and this time, Hydration able to find Hyped early on and is getting a little bit more done right now so far.
They will finally chase down Verbo, who is just barely staying alive. Primal Rage out for Fate to try to buy a little bit of time. Meanwhile, they're getting some progress on this point. That is no small task, but again, it's Hydration who does take to the sky with the anti-air.
And this shouldn't be too big of a surprise that Hydration is doing well there, sending Kareem to his death off that final boop, but Hydration, when he made his mark onto the scene, he did it as a Pharah player, so even though Agilities is a very good Pharah, in terms of playtime, Hydration probably does have a little bit more experience in this matchup than Agilities does.
Oh, absolutely he does, and you can see it now. I mean, Pharah v Pharah is volatile, but one thing you can really practice in aiming your projectiles is air v air, and he has absolutely won the air v air so far.
Well, speaking of air, Agilities finding his way right to the skybox once more. A little bit more into the well as he looks for Hydration. Comes in on the flank, lands one, looks for more. Justice raining, and he's going to take down Hydration. Hydration not in the best position for that barrage, and Immortals taking good advantages. Now they have more of a dominant presence on this point, and it's 99-99, Hex. This is not something CLG can afford to lose.
No, not at all. And it's just a kind of a poorly timed barrage right there. He wanted to take down one, but there was a diva in his face. And the worst thing about barrage is you just become a sitting duck in the sky and you're taken out immediately after resurrection.
Shake able to get back in, gets the resurrection up before people go back to spawn, and CLG is still very much in this. In over the top is Hydration, finds Agilities, and now works for more. Kareem, though, in the back, can bring him right back up, holding on to a res. He's going to dive in, and no, he's not able to get that resurrection off. Didn't get the option to bring Agilities back in, so Agilities gonna have to run back the old-fashioned way. Oh no.
But they flipped it, and that's one part about being in the sky, is it doesn't necessarily register you on the point. The combo was there, but they were too high up.
That's been happening to a lot of teams recently.
Yeah. Yes. I got nothing else to say on that. Do you think we'll see...
Yeah, you know what, that's the thing, where I don't think we need to tell that narrative.
No.
After all, the public will tell their own narrative on that anyways, but...
I haven't seen Ruins in a while, and this is one of my favorite stages, largely because of what we have Agilities queued up on now. I remember when we very first casted this map, it was just Widow v Widow, and then it went away for a while, but it has returned. It is a great Widowmaker map. Aw, Agilities, breaking my heart.
I would love to see Widow here. I would love to see Widow on more things than just Assault first, or more things than Anubis first to be more accurate as of late, but teams do go in cycles with Widowmaker, and has been somewhat of a down day for everyone's favorite smug purple lady.
Well, a little bit of composition differences, though, as it does seem CLG wants to try to clutch on their combo of Pharmacy up the sky. Hyped again, trying to be very annoying there. Agilities is on the ground at Genji, so no true anti-air for them so far.
Agilities right now holding on to the ground war and just looking for his opportunity in the back. Has Shake in his sights, but Shake not really in the greatest position for him to go in on. Agilities has to back out a bit as CLG rope-a-doping it back. Shake under heavy pressure will finally go down. Grim getting his man, but CLG still making this very even despite the back and forth. Still have to find a way to deal with Grim, though, as he is very much dominant on the point, and even D-Max Miso.
Well, both supports for Immortals went down very early, but now they're both back in the fight based on the DPS, able to stall that out and get some kills of their own. So having lost both Kareem and Verbo early, but doing enough to bring them back is boding very well for Immortals as they collect kill after kill.
Grim has been old reliable in this matchup.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I'm viewing him. It just is a fight being lost for Immortals. Grim's probably in the back killing like one or two people. It hasn't been the flashiest Tracer play, but it has been effective, particularly in a battle that has had more of it being looking to the skies. But speaking of looking to the skies, Hydration coming in here in the Fair Mercy once more. Agilities on the ground with Genji, and he has that blade ready to go, Hex.
Yeah, Hydration up in the skies, trying to get a little bit here. This is a decent angle for Barrage if he wants to use it, but he doesn't want to do it when a Diva is right down there. Blade comes out for Agilities, and that will be justice raining on the Blade.
Well, the Justice comes in Hydration, looking to put Kareev in that grave with the rest of his team. We'll do that with the help of Shiny, and CLG gonna be retaking this again rather quickly.
Yeah, they get all the kills that they need there, and it's time to reset for Immortals. They will reset at 43% though, so a nice first take for them. And back to your point about Grim, reminds me a little bit of Valutaya, just kind of taken for granted in his greatness, where, I mean, when he gets 2K, you're like, yes, so? He does it all the time. But Grim, you're right, has been a really nice player for them in the last couple of matches at least.
Grim and Valtai can form a club of players going, we don't get enough love. Actually, I think Valtai gets a lot of love.
He does,
but of the two. Still, Grim Reality coming in with Fate. They find Miso before he can get back in. And Grim, not done. Stalking to the back, has the pulse bomb, looking for anyone. His Fate just dives right in. That's going to force the resurrection out of Shake here as Grim still stalking around, and he has shaken hot pursuit. It's Grim and Fate with agilities coming out the uppercut. His own Doomfist impression, perhaps, as that's going to be 3 kills for Immortals, bringing this one right back.
Yep, and it's Grim at the end. He was taking down Baby Diva and then Hydration too. You know, Tracer can be okay-ish against a combo as long as the communication's there. I always say you don't necessarily have to run a Soldier or a McCree. If you just communicate perfectly, I've discorded and they took a dash and now you can get a full clip in on them. They've done really well dealing with this combo despite not having the traditional anti-Pharah heroes.
They have indeed, and I mean, you talk about anti-air. Agility is perhaps the master of the anti-air Dragon Blade, and I'm not even saying that ironically at this point. It has been something he's used for it. Still, Immortals counter-diving right back in as CLG works the outskirts. Hydration trying to open this up, and oh no, barrages himself in Fate. I mean, he does take out Fate, but it is the Sudoku Pact if there ever was one. Still, CLG able to turn this fight more in their favor than not, despite that early barrage, and it is looking like they will retake.
Yeah, Grim's just dancing on the point, trying to buy as much time as possible. He will try to distract them with a pulse bomb on the ground, kind of like a magician smoke bomb there, but they weren't falling for it. 87% on the side of Immortals, as they will get bullied back here. Agilities has Blade for next fight, and that is about the most notable one. Silk Thread and Shiny on the other side have their ults up as well.
Well, the good thing about the Blade here is that there's no support ultimate to counter it, so again, Agilities can take the game into his own hands here if he gets in soon enough. Shake will have a resurrection soon, but you gotta think for Agilities, he might think Shake already has a resurrection, so Shake will be his priority number 1. He's gonna dive to the backline, no. Goes for Mercado first, takes him down with 2 swift slashes, and is looking for more. Shake on the other end, and he got out of there. He put as much space between him and Agilities as possible, and it works out. Silk Thread is able to support him.
Immortals lost both their supports very early. If they can stall this out, it will be very much like the first fight in which they stalled and waited for their supports to get back. Taxi in full effect as both supports now rejoin the fight, but too late. No one able to stay alive during that. You should see the supports retreating to try to reset, but it's too late. 98%, they gotta get on.
CLG perhaps staying alive. Kriv, last moment. Zoom Yada coming out on the point just to try and keep the hope alive.
Why did he leave it?
Well, it's an overtime. They have no choice.
No, but Kareem just left Agilities. He zoomed in there with Transcend.
Yeah, that part doesn't make much sense.
And he's bailed on him.
Well, when you gotta get on the point, Hex, you gotta get on the point.
But he got off the point. He transcended off.
I don't know. I can't explain these things. In any case, CLG is murdering Immortals as they try and get back onto the point here. Every kill going their way, keeping a firm 6. And it is looking like CLG will have at least forced another round here on Ilios.
Kareem likes to think that he carries. He's been known to say as much, but that was a confusing play. Maybe Verbo was in there and he was trying to save Verbo. I'm not entirely sure, but he transcended right past Agilities alone into a room. Not the best thing I've ever seen, but I'll have to ask him about that later. That was interesting. A better looking stage for CLG. It seemed like their other combo ran pretty well, but still pretty close there. Could have gone either way. And this stage now, first point capture again. Always very critical.
Well, we are back here, and we'll see just how CLG is able to deal with it on the well. And they have no more margin for error here in the series. Should they lose here, that will be the series. Immortals will be taking it, and we will be going on to our next set of the night. So, that said, given the fact that CLG was able to win on control earlier in the set, if there was anything they'd come back on, this would probably be it.
Hydration is going to have to win the air v air, and it's going to be up to Hype to shut him down. He was so annoying earlier. That is a great sign for CLG as Hydration
got 2 immediately! Takes down Agilities, looking for more. Kareev not going to be able to withstand, and that is quite the opening for CLG.
And that first fight's so crucial. They will be able to capture point first as soon as it unlocks. That's how quick the kills came. Wasn't even unlocked yet, and Agilities had ended that fight. Or Hydration, excuse me.
Well, with that opening, CLG definitely gets started on the right foot, and it means that Agility is going to have a tougher time getting to the high positioning he likes with the defense that he likes here early on. It's not going to stop him, though, from going in over the top on Hydration, and Hydration says, nope, I'm just going to go for your Lucio. Pressure being applied to Verbo here. Fate already down, and Verbo just circling around the bowl, gets out, but can't say the same for Agilities, who takes 2 rockets to the face directly from Hydration.
Both Winstons got booped into the pit. A sad little barrel of monkeys down there. Mikado will also put Grim into the hole. This is Sparta.
This is Sparta, and Hex, let's be realistic, every barrel of monkeys is sad. Even when you got that as a toy as a kid, you're just like, I don't see the point in this. These are the saddest monkeys.
Yeah.
What do I even do with them? I mean, I guess you make them fight army men or something.
Luckily, I didn't have any relatives hate me enough to buy me that as a kid.
I did. I had scores of monkeys, Hex. I was the monkey lord.
Alright. I'm just gonna move on. Silk Thread will take down Fate to start this off. 60% on CLG, as it has been all them, mostly carried by Shake and Hydration, and Mikado's been sending people to a watery death down in well. And it's going to be difficult for them to bring this back. They don't even really have any ults. Maybe Grim can take a 2K with his Pulse Bomb, but not looking great for IMT.
Hydration has just had a really nice rocket harassment here. No matter how. Oh no, Fate is he the pit? He is! Fate goes down again! The monkeys in the barrel keep adding up, Hex. We're gonna need a new barrel soon.
Yeah, it's getting full down there. Those are big bodies that are just piling up at the bottom of Ilio's well. 89%, 90%, and they didn't have to use anything. They have both support ults and a barrage. I think Hydration should unbind Q right now because he hasn't needed it, and really the only times people have been able to kill him is when he does it.
Oh no, goes for Verbo. Does not quite throw him into the world status pit, but instead uses the barrage when you really need Lucio dead and still can't kill him as Kareem comes in, taking him down. Immortals not dead yet here. It's at 99%, but this might be the time they retake. Still though, they're gonna have to deal with the resurrection from Shake. Beta 1 combos in play, resurrection in the sound barrier as CLG comes right back in. And Hex, this might be a clean well for CLG as they're looking good on the re-engage.
It's looking like it. I mentioned before the start that Hydration was going to have a game of his life. So far he has. That self-destruct takes down Shake, but it does not matter. Shiny cleans up the rest, and we're going to a stage 5 on Ilios. RNG going to matter here.
If you are a fan of CLG, you definitely want to see Ruins here again because they were able to use the Fair Mercy to great effect there, and there you have it, Hex. RNG gives CLG its blessing, perhaps because they both have G in their name, you never know. But they get to use Pharah here again, and it will be matched up against the Genji play of Agilities.
I wouldn't mind Agilities to come out for at least a life onto Widow here. Put the Fear of God in the combo, make them uncomfortable a little bit, then you can switch off if you struggle, but I think it's a good opener. Does not appear that he feels like doing that, and it's going to be the same compositions we saw earlier on Ruins.
Alright, well, we do see the Fair Mercy heading out here for CLG. Meanwhile, for Immortals, they're going to be sticking things a little bit more to the ground, and this is where pressure is going to be really applied to the backline, where Mikado is probably target number 1 here for Immortals, so Mikado has to be careful to keep himself alive here as the Immortals dives comes in. Fate, looking for targets early on. Gonna have to back up, and they go for the counter. They dive back into their own backline, and they deal with Ice Shiny, so Immortals playing this a little bit closer to the vest, and though bloodied, they're still up a player here early on. Not anymore.
Agilities has been hunted by Silk Thread most of the game. They're putting someone on him just to check him, make him uncomfortable. However, all that said, first capture will go the way of Immortals as now the dive comes in a little bit. Kareev gets very aggressive, but Silk Thread punishes both supports.
Silk Thread is punishing everyone right now, but he should be punishing his own team because they were not able to stay on the point during that. They still have plenty of people up. I understand that they might have been under pressure, but that's still going to be free percentage away of Immortals. And rocket to the back of the head to Agilities. I hate to see that type of thing happen.
That's a tough way to go out. Now the combo is going to be in the position that they want. They're going to have Res and Barrage, although my feelings on Barrage are pretty well known at this point. Unless you have a great one lined up, it's not necessarily the best thing to use, especially when you're playing as well without your ultimate.
For Hydration right now, he does not really need the Barrage. He has been so good at suppressing fire, and Fate, this time, able to stay on the map for how long, only to take a rocket to the face. The concussive blast usage from Hydration here has been great. So great that Agilities decides he wants to take a swim.
Well, CLG in a dominant position. I think they've been a lot better with this pharmacy combo when they get ultra aggressive. It's when they sit back and let the ground take too much damage that they've struggled. But you saw on the last stage and on this one that they're trying to get in very deep. They're using it as a dive combo instead of kind of playing it slower as some other teams do.
Hydration is just the person standing up top, Hex, and yeah, you're right. I mean, you see it being played a little bit slower. Here's the question, is how does Agilities get in for the Dragon Blade? He's holding onto the Blade right now. Kariv opens with the Transcendence, and Shake is just so far away from Agilities that Agilities is not able to get the early opening, and Hydration, in fact, punishes him. So Agilities can't even bring out the Blade, even with the Transcendence. And oh no, Fate off swimming again. This has been a great round for Hydration.
It goes back to the previous runes. I think Agilities and Kariv are simply on different pages today because it's not working out well. Kariv again transcended in the pit. Agilities tried to 1v2 the combo over there outside of it. And while Transcend is active, it means he's not going to have the orb that he needs to stay alive, and he's been getting bodied by this pharmacy combo. And it's mostly he's not getting the support we're used to seeing.
No, he definitely is not, and CLG again, taking control of space, but here comes Agilities to the back line. The Blade is out, and he just gets booped out. He's not able to connect on these kills. He's under pressure, and Agilities lucky to leave with his life. Meanwhile, Hydration, Justice raining from the side, and he goes down. The Barrage not his friend, but the Resurrection is. He comes right back up, Sound Barrier in play, and all 6 members of CLG still in this fight. Kariv, under pressure from both sides, and manages to take down Hydration before falling himself. Kariv getting his pound of flesh towards the end, and that could have been decisive in letting Immortals flip this fight back over.
Yeah, they finally took it back, and now Agilities without the threat of Hydration in the sky will clean up a couple right there. And I just don't know why you keep trying to barrage. When you barrage, you're essentially wasting 2 ultimates because you know you're going to have to resurrect right afterwards. It was a strange angle to try to get in there anyway. So far, Immortals have shown that when he barrages, he's going to die. They've punished him every single time.
Well, Hydration does not have a barrage to use this time around,
Good.
so
Good.
if it is a trap, it's not something he's going to fall into, but they lose Mikado immediately. The ground and pound of Immortals, taking down one of the most vulnerable ground heroes early on, and you just see Hydration slowly hit the reverse button here in his Pharah. Blimp going back in reverse, and they're just going to wait for Mikado for the next fight.
It's not a blimp, it's a rigid airship. Come on.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
I'm fine with this classification. I think airships are underrated in general, and I would love to see more in our media.
Well, they're coming in over the top. Grim is able to take down Shiny, and a second kill actually comes out late onto the Mac. It is Grim going off there on the ground. One more chance for CLG to take it back, or they will be headed to the lower bracket.
And this is definitely rough for CLG, whereas looking like CLG was in command here on the Ruins, and they certainly were the last time around, but Immortals has fought this thing back, and they have a Blade and Barrier that go into this next fight, so this could be very tough here early on. There's the Barrier, and where's the Blade? Agilities, gonna pull it out. Shake his prey, looking for Shake, and gets him down before he's able to go to safety, and now Hydration, the next on his list, puts the Blade away at the last moment, and not able to finish off Hydration, still barely alive. Doesn't really have anyone to heal him, though, as Grim goes for the long-range pulse pistoling.
Shiny tries to bring it back just a little bit, able to take down Kariv, but that is the only kill that has gone for Counter Logic Gaming here. They're going to have to try to jump in and out, but now clean up here. Miso is desuited and deleted. Can they get back to touch it? No! Immortals will take Ilios and the early set after losing Lijiang Tower in the first map of the day. Immortals moving on.
Gotta say, for Immortals, I was able to ground and pound and pull out the last control.